Welcome to the Warrior Mindset Podcast. We're your guide as you make your way through life, getting better 1% every day. We believe that life is lived and true victory won through adversity. Nothing easy is ever worth it. We believe in the warrior ethos and support those that choose to walk that path.
Howdy. It's been a little bit since I've done one of these. A debrief. So I probably only have like one post that I found that I thought would be cool to go through. It's a bit of a cheese fest, but I think you'll dig it because it's, Elon Musk stuff. Whatever you think about that guy. Some cool habits here, some cool thoughts. So this post I found from Elon Musk thing, which is interesting. It's an interesting account to follow to begin with, but remember the idea of these debriefs is that we want to try to find a way to make our phone scrolling habits useful. So try to find something wherever you look that's something you can learn from and be actionable on. And I think there's some really good stuff in here for us. We try to keep these shorter and see how they perform with everybody wanting to listen, as opposed to the longer hour and a half long episodes. So this thing, powerful habits from the world's top achievers. I mean, whatever. These people are like famous people, but it's good lessons to learn here. Okay. The 5-hour rule. And this one, I don't know that I think I do this, but I don't know that I knew that it was a thing. I don't know that it's a thing. Just because this post says it's a thing doesn't mean it's a thing, but it's a thing. So the 5-hour rule. So spend an hour a day during the 5 working days that you have. As an American, we work 5 days a week, generally speaking. Some work more, but take an hour out of that day to spend time consciously learning or practicing something new. They pull this for Elon Musk, and reportedly as a child, he would read up to 10 hours a day, whatever. But the point is to spend time, whatever that time you can do every day when you are generally self-expected or expected from others or whatever to be there producing. Take some of that time to make sure you're researching, learning, or practicing something. And I think that's really cool. I have personally spent time in, I guess you could call it a hobby. I've now turned it to a professional thing that I do. I own a gym, and and in that gym is my own dojo where I teach students, have my own students. And I've spent a lot of time getting really good at that art, at my martial art, to the point where I'm now a sensei and I can teach. And I've spent structured, purposeful time learning, researching, and practicing that. And, I did that on the side, basically. I have a full-time job. I have a full-time business. I have multiple businesses, and I made that happen. So it's not for me to say, hey, I can do it, you can do it. But the point is that you can find some time every day, purposefully, like strategically, systematically, to learn something or practice something, if for anything, just your own enjoyment. But you never know. You never know what can become of it and where you can take it. The power of doing nothing. And they have Einstein here on the slide. So giving your mind the space that it needs to process your thoughts and feelings. by doing nothing. So Einstein, what it says here, would spend time each day walking outside or simply gazing at the ceiling. It doesn't matter. He was just spending time doing nothing, going for a walk, whatever. This allowed his mind space to process his thoughts and solve problems. So you can use that time. You can use your brain's downtime, your down cycles to solve problems like in the background. Have you ever like thought of a solution to something while you were in the shower, or you're making dinner and you're like, oh, that's the thing I've been working on, I think I just solved it, or you're watching a movie and some other thought comes in your head? Well, that's because you sort of down cycled that, your brain patterns, um, and they're able, you know your subconscious can kind of work things out for you without you literally spending focused, um, top of mind time on it. It's an interesting thing. I'm sure there's studies and stuff out there, and I'm gonna look those up. But that's a really interesting thought, in my opinion. And I think the point here is to realize that that's something that happens and use it to your benefit. That's pretty solid. The high five habit, and using Mel Robbins, and she's somebody that I've recently started checking out. I don't know a whole lot about her. I like a lot of what she has to say. I've seen her TED. I think she's done a couple of TED talks. I've seen a TED talk of hers and another interview or podcast or something, and I like a lot of her approach. But um, so she has this thing: do something, a self affirmation or whatever that helps you improve your relationship with yourself. So on the slide here, each morning, Mel goes to her bathroom and high fives herself in the mirror. She says, "This simple action can improve your relationship with yourself and your daily motivation." We are our own worst critics, and it's one of the things that I do talk about in our gym, coaching our clients, customers, whatever you want to call them, my students as well, is that we usually treat ourselves pretty poorly. If you think about your negative self talk, we usually treat ourselves pretty crappy. We say bad things to ourselves. You often say things to yourself that you would not catch yourself saying to other people because you'd be embarrassed the way you're treating them. So why would you treat yourself that way? This is kind of from that. So she's literally high-fiving herself in the mirror, um, in the morning, which is like, hey, I'm awesome, let's go. Or you're awesome, we're the same person. uh, I find that interesting, and I often try to do that. But if I'm feeling down, I try to give myself some positive self-talk. And another example of that is, instead of, like, let's say you're about to start something, um, a workout, or you're about to start writing something, or maybe you're going into a pitch at work, you're going to talk to your boss. Instead of saying like, all right, Gene, don't mess this up, you know don't make a mistake, change that to, um, remember to stand tall, remember to not look at the floor, remember to shake their hands, remember to, go for this thing that I want to get across, right? And that changes it to the positive outcome, or the things you have to do to have a positive outcome, instead of focusing solely on don't screw this up or don't make this mistake. And I mean, how many times have you thought about that? Or how many times have you thought about how many times you've gone to start something and you were stuck on the thing you don't want to do and you wind up doing that thing? Well, that's also part of the, previous slides. Your brain's subconscious brings things to bear. So why bring something negative to bear? Focus on the positive things. Focus on the things the steps that you need to make sure you take to get to that positive uh, result, and use that as your mantra. Mel Robbins talks about that a good bit in her talks and things, and I think it's a good lesson for us. No electronics at bedtime or before bedtime or in bed or whatever. You know, there are a lot of reasons and studies done why you shouldn't be staring at your phone before bedtime. You can just Google it. Um, there's lots of obvious things, and anyway, Google it. You'll find everything about that. But their example here is Ariana Huffington. Before bed, she turns off all of her devices and keeps them out of the bedroom because hers is a result of losing sleep will affect her day the next day. She's probably a pretty busy person, where that would negatively impact her. But, some obvious things are there's a lot of negative results that are fed into our brain from social media. And let's be real, aside from the, light and the magnetic responses, things like that with the actual, device, things that it does to your brain. There's, studies on serotonin deprecation and whatever that is in your brain that getting, small doses of happiness from the device or whatever can affect. And I don't remember what that part is, but they can damage you without you really realizing it. Really, what I think we're talking about here is social media. And there's just so much, not just straight up like negativity in terms of like politics and stuff, but there's a negativity that we feed ourselves when we see other people that we perceive to be happier or more successful than us, and we begin that comparison thing, and all of that feeds into your subconscious and stuff as you are there. And who needs that, right? Definitely not before bed, so that you can pre-program that into your subconscious while you sleep. That's terrible. So definitely, no electronics in the bedroom. That's really awesome. um, think about your habits too. Like, is it the last thing you look at and the first thing you look at? I mean, is it like right by your bed? So, it's the last thing you see, you fall asleep and you get up, and then it's the first thing you grab, right? I mean, is there anything else in your life that you treat like that? That's probably a pretty big sign. And I'm not here to be judgmental, because I definitely fall into that trap a lot too. Something I need to think about. So thank you, Ariana Huffington. All right. The last one they have on here, flow state ritual. And they've got Stephen King as an example, that he's optimized his ability to enter the flow state to maximize his output. He sits down every day in the same place at the same time with the same music, and he writes. So Stephen King's famously talked about his ability to, because he's written a lot of stuff, and people ask him that a lot in interviews and stuff. And he talks about discipline, and there's a lot of talk about how he's one of the most disciplined writers there is or ever has been. And so there's this dichotomy between discipline and flow state and all of that stuff. And I really like this idea of creating a repeatable set of patterns, or an environment that's the same, that when you sit down to do the thing that you're there to do, it's there, and you can sort of fast forward into that state of working. And I will tell you, I'm lucky in that, I run my own businesses, and I'm able to work pretty much anywhere I want. And I have a small office where I'm sitting now, and I can work from home. And one of the businesses I own is a co-work, which would literally let me work anywhere in the building. We have 2 locations. And I have found over the years, I tend to be the most productive when I'm in this little space. Well, first it starts when I get up at my home and I leave it. I get dressed properly so that I can be around other humans. And I get dressed and I go there, and I'm sitting here away from all of the other things, my comfy couch and, YouTube on my TV and stuff. I'm here and I can work. And I find I can fall into that flow state of building things on the internet really fast, because it's the same setup. Everything's the same way. I have basically the same setup at home, monitors in the same place, the same keyboard, the same mouse. Um, and I have a laptop, so I bring the same device with me. But I find that just that environment too, being the environment of my home, it's different, and I can't get into that. It takes me longer to get going. So I think he's on to something, and he's pretty successful in terms of his ability to create. And I think if we're going to listen to somebody, listen to Stephen King there. Um, so those are pretty good, 5 pretty good habits, that I think. Again, the 5-hour rule: spend some time each week, every day of the week, learning or practicing something new that you're working on. Um, Bake in some downtime for doing nothing related to the thing that it is that you do every day. Uh, High five habit: fill your mind with self-affirming words in treatment for yourself. Do something about that social media or the phone before bedtime. Don't let that leak into your subconscious. And then flow state, like audit and look at how, where, and when, and why you work and when you work the best, and recreate that, like, purposefully. Um, yeah, so those are pretty solid. I think I've learned some stuff from this post. That's the whole point of the debrief stuff, is to find something out there in the giant pile of crap that is social media that we can learn from. But it's not just about learning. You have to actually do those things. So I think these are some things that would be pretty good to do, and they're pretty low barrier to entry in terms of starting new habits. So I'll link this up. Check this out. I can't validate whether we follow this account or not. It's a funny name, Elon Musk thing, but you know, he's a famous guy too, famous rich guy. So there you go. I hope this helps a little bit. Helped me. Until the next debrief, get after it, y'all.